this is a lot of fun. I love that pull in second gear. You really notice how much lighter a 3,000-pound car is than a 4,100-pound car. Welcome to another episode of Jay Leno's Garage. The car featuring today, 2023 Lotus Emira. People who know cars know Lotus. If you don't know cars, you probably never heard of Lotus, because Lotus is all about handling. There are a lot of cars about luxury, a lot of cars primarily about how many horsepower it has, you know, like a Hellcat. Lotus is about handling. This has 400 horsepower, which today is not a whole lot, but when you realize it weighs just a hair under 3,100 pounds, which certainly not light by Lotus standards from the 1960s when it was 1,400 pounds, but it's lighter, and you can tell when you drive it. That was Colin Chapman's whole thing, you know. Add lightness is adding horsepower, because it's all about how many pounds, horsepower per pound you're pushing, you know. So if you weigh less, then you get the equivalent of more horsepower. So that's what I like about this. It's kind of the newest version of the Evora, which we drove. Oh, we used it with Ben Collins when we did this James Bond thing, and we just the most fun to drive, the most fun handling car, because that's what these are all about. Lotus is legendary for its handling characteristics and its lightweight. It's got a lot of improvements over the Evora. You've got a modern sports car interior. You know, Lotus tended to go, yeah, just put a radio, which is good. We want it to handle, we want it to. Now they realize people just come to expect certain things, and it has all those. And it's got a proper gearbox. It's a manual 6-speed. I'm sure they'll probably come out with, well, actually they're not making gas engine cars anymore. Lotus, this is the last gas engine automobile that Lotus will produce. They're all going to go electric. Yeah, I know, but look, let's enjoy it while we can, okay? The last days of old technology are usually more fun than the first days of new technology. And I think this is probably a classic example of that. It uses a version of the Toyota V6 engine, but it's supercharged. It's been tuned, timed a little bit, so you get the incredible Toyota reliability. You know, the old days of electrical problems for Lotus, well, that disappeared a long time ago. But you've got a modern, good-looking sports car. I think it's a wonderful design. There's not a lot of scoops and wings on it, so it's one of those designs that'll still look fresh in 10 years from now. You know, when I see a McLaren F1, when I go to my garage, I look at it next to the Countach, looks like the 80s. It just looks like, you know, whereas the F1 looks like it could have been produced yesterday, you know, and that's what I like about this. Nice, clean design. I think people would mistake it for a Ferrari or perhaps a McLaren, but of course, a third of the price, or maybe even, well, these are just a hair under $100,000, which these days isn't bad. I think it's a good-looking car. I like the two-tone paint. Normally, I don't. Of course, you see the Lotus logo on the engine right here behind your head, which is always kind of fun. Obviously, four-wheel discs. Yeah, I had one of the Evoras for a month. It's a unique driving experience. You know, most people, especially here in America, are not used to a light car. You know, Lotus in the early days, light was 1,200 to 1,500 pounds. Now light is anything less than 2,500 or 2,600 pounds. Because most cars now, once you fill them up with fluids, you're looking at 3,600, close to 2 tons, which is not the case with this. It's just such a refreshing car to drive. I've got a Lotus Elan, a 66, and I've got a Lotus 26R, which is sort of the racing version of the Elan. And that thing's only got 220 horsepower, I think, but it weighs 1,400 pounds. So, I mean, I get in the car, I'm a third of the weight. This is not flattering, but hey, it's just reality. What can I tell you? And I love driving that thing. And that's why I'm anxious to try this one. They just sent this one over, so we haven't driven it yet, but if it's even half as good as the Evora, I'll be impressed. I hate modern supercars where we can't access the motor without taking the whole car apart. Let's see what we got here. All right, we got not a bad sized trunk or boot. Sorry, mate, boot. There's your Lotus logo. Doesn't say Toyota, so don't worry about that. But it's just nice knowing you have that reliability. It just looks like a nice, well put together car. Now the track looks a little bit wider in back than the Evora, and you've got, those are 20s. You know, I like that Aerowork wheels are all the same size, just give it a sense of balance. Everybody now has big 22s in the back and 19s in the front. I just like the way this sits. I mean, the most important part about this car to me is the manual gearbox. Just Porsche, Corvette, and Lotus. I think they're about the only guys that do a manual gearbox. If there's anybody else out there, feel free to let me know and put it in the comments section. But they're true to the sports car ethos here with this. Because, you know, is an automatic faster? Yes. Is it more fun? No, not really, at least not to me. I mean, if you're just going racing, and probably maybe some sort of dual clutch gearbox is good to have. But to me, if you just like to go out in the hills and have fun, there's nothing that beats a manual, and it's a 6-speed. So another thing I like about this, it's sort of boutique engineering. You know, by that I mean, you build what you build, and then you find the people who build the best parts that you bring in. They use AP brakes. They could have a choice of any brake they wanted. They chose AP. ASIN is the transmission for this thing, geared by Lotus, but built by ASIN. So that seems like a smart way to do things, you know. If you're an engine manufacturer, not necessarily a brake manufacturer, so rather than spend all the time making your own brakes, you find the best brakes you can and you incorporate them in your car. I mean, everybody does that. Ferrari, everybody will use Brembo brakes, wherever it might be. So that's kind of fun. Plus, you're not going to see yourself coming and going, you know. I would guess most people looking at this car would guess that it was a Ferrari, because most people don't know the name Lotus. You know, Lotus sells well among enthusiasts. You don't see a lot of Lotus billboards, because people who know, and people who don't know don't care and have no idea. So they gear this car to the enthusiasts. It's probably one of the few sports cars that gets sold just on reputation. People, they've heard about it, they know about it, what's that like, you know. And you go down to the dealership and you check it out. So let's see what she does. By now, this has got a Toyota V6, 400 horsepower. Got a supercharger, which it never had when it's a Toyota. I think it's been tuned by Lotus. You know, the nice thing is you get that Toyota dependability. And it doesn't sound like any Toyota motor I ever had. So that's kind of cool. And to the uninitiated, when they look through the window and see the badge, it says Lotus. You know, this car is what I like. It's mid-engine, it's rear-wheel drive only, and it's got a manual transmission. The NSX, which I also have, which I like a great deal, well, that's exactly almost twice as much money as this. I think that was $205,000 brand new. It's 560-something horsepower, but I didn't really need all-wheel drive, you know. I like the fact that they keep this light, and I like just rear-wheel drive because it's fun to hang out the tail a little bit when you go around the corner. And of course, as we said before, a manual gearbox is not as fast as an automatic, but who cares? You know, it's really about having fun with the car and having the complete car under your control. I've got it in track mode right now. You've got touring, you've got sport, and you've got track. Normally in a car like this, I just keep it in sport on the road. But when you put it in track, you get a little crisper throttle response, and you get the traction control turned off, which is what I like to do sometimes. Because as I always say, all the fun is between 20 miles an hour and 120 miles an hour. Once you start crossing into triple digits, boy, if you get caught, you're going to jail. You know, so to me, you get something like this on a fast 2-lane road, there's nothing more fun. And it's kind of cool. I just noticed this sitting at the stoplight. You can see the gear shift linkage looking, when you look at the transmission tunnel here from the side, you can see the linkage and gauge, which is kind of, I enjoy the mechanicalness of that. It's kind of fun. Nice little touch there. Rather than just putting a sheet of carbon fiber, you can kind of see the mechanical bits moving. This interior is so much better than the one that was in the Evora. You know, it's more modern. I think you have more air conditioning outlet vents. You know, I like the Evora, but I had that kind of Ed and Al's auto sound. We install a radio in 2 hours, you know, whatever it might be. You know, it didn't look like it was part of the car. Whereas this integrates nicely. They have somebody doing modern interiors. I like the stitching, and it has a rich feel. It looks like a proper $100,000 car, which is what I like. Sound out of it when you got a track mode. I like that. I like track mode. It's good. Okay, I'm sitting on a light here. The thing I do like about this car is the size. This is the proper size for a sports car. Anything bigger than it seems a little cumbersome to me. And I love shifting the gears myself. You know, we live in a world where you don't have a whole lot of control over your life. And so the idea that you get in the car and make the car do something I want it to do, as opposed to doing it perfectly by itself, which can be a little annoying. You know, it's all about how the car makes you feel, you know. I know a lot of people, a lot of guys used to rail against a Miata, and I put a supercharger on mine. I said to my friend, take it and drive it, see what you like, you know. And he goes, I love that thing, it's really good. I go, yeah, that's the idea. It's not the fastest thing out there, but you're using what you got. You know, when you blow off some guy in a Miata, oh, you feel a lot better about it than if you're in a Porsche 911 or something. You know, they go, well, anybody can blow somebody off in a Porsche 911. You make that Miata hustle, you're pretty good, you know. You know, fit, finish, and quality, it's really improved on Lotus. It's amazing how good it is. It looks like a car that can compete with all the other supercars in this class. And the Lotus name still has a lot of clout. You know, I think if you said to people, this is half the price of an NSX, they would go, really? Because the Lotus name, there's so much racing history. There's so much history. There you go. The one thing I would like to see in this car is the round speedometer, round tachometer. You know, watching a needle gives me a better, because when you're accelerating hard, you want to keep your eye on the wheel, and just knowing that the needle is, at this point, I know I'm coming close to the red line. This one I kind of have to look at it and watch it go across the screen. I like the fact the steering column is fully adjustable. That's very nice. I like the wheel itself. It's sort of, I'm not sure, oblong. It's not a circle, but it's nicely done. You hold it in your hand properly. You know, you've got that turbine-like smoothness to this engine, which makes it very enjoyable. We're up in the 4,000 RPM range. You know, it's just lively. You just feel like it's on ballet shoes. You know, you're just dodging around traffic. You know, this is a lot of fun. You really notice how much lighter a 3,000-pound car is than a 4,100-pound car. One place that Lotus has always excelled is in steering. Those cars always felt right. And this has a nice feel to it. Lotus has given this Toyota engine a real personality. Beautifully balanced. I mean, listen to it. I love that pull in second gear. You can throw this pretty hard into corner. 6-speed brakes, very nice. I love a car where you can use all the power all the time on the street. But that I mean that, you know, a lot of times if you're in I took the Dodge Demon out, you put your foot on it, you're doing 150, you're going to jail. This thing, it's so turbulent, like it just, I mean, you can hit 3 digits in no time, really. Like I said, I just wish it had a proper tach, a proper analog speedometer. But it's way more comfortable than the Evora. I like the fact that I'm pretty tall. I got long legs, I guess it's better. And I fit in this thing fine. I'm not sitting off to the side. A lot of cars, you're kind of angled, you know. This is nice. Your feet go just about straight down in front of you. You know, it takes a long time to get feel into a car. You know, you get these guys at Lotus, they've been sitting and stuff for 40 or 50 years, and just got a sense of what it should feel like, what the seat of the pants of feel is of it. And that's what I like about this. I feel really comfortable in it. It feels right at home. It seems to me like a lot of design work went into the steering wheel. I'm not hitting my knees. It's a very nice place to put your hands. You've got a place here for your thumbs to go. Just nicely done. I like the Evora, but like I said, it didn't quite feel finished. It looked like they spent all the money on the ride and the handling, and the comfort and the radio and all that, that's all second. Now this looks like they put a lot of effort into this. And again, it's just the right amount of noise. It's not a drone that if you're driving more than 2 hours, you want to get out of the car screaming, you know. Whenever I drive Mazda Rotary, you just get that turbine-like feel, that buzz, and it's intoxicating, actually. You really like this. And that's what this engine feels like. This is what you want to do with this thing, head for the hills. Do you like the styling? I like the looks of it. I think it's, like I said, a nice, clean design. I mean, you can throw this thing around corners all day long. I like that you can turn off the traction control. This car doesn't have active dampening, but dare I say it, I don't think you need it. I mean, it just does everything right. And the torque doesn't drop off. You know, some sports cars are so big, you always feel like you got one tire over the yellow line or double the yellow line, you know. But it's not the case with this. It's so amazing how brake fade is just a thing of the past, you know. You know, a lot of sports cars from the 60s, 70s, even early 80s, you get on them hard too many times, you just feel that brakes going soft, the pedal gets soft, fluids boiling, you know, whatever. You don't get any of that with that. You're not going to wear out these brakes, trust me. You know, I'm by myself, I'm having a great time in this car. It's really an enjoyable day. I imagine mileage is pretty good since it's a Toyota base motor. You're probably high 20s. A lot of response is instantaneous. It's right there. Very nice. Perfect road for this car. Just wonderful. And as I said, just loud enough. I'm in track mode, so that's probably about as loud as it's going to get, and that's fine. It's right behind you here. You can see the throttle body's moving. It's kind of cool. You know, a lot of cars are intimidating to drive. This is really fun to drive. I think the steering is probably one of the most impressive things about it. A lot of cars use electronic power steering. And a lot of cars don't use it because it doesn't have the feel of the old hydraulic. I've driven the electric ones. They're actually very good. This is kind of old school, but there's a reason, because I think it's probably better. Certainly in the Lotus application. You know, I had any hesitation about recommending the previous car, the Evora. It was because of the kind of kit car looking interior, you know, with the kind of radio stuck in there. It didn't look like it belonged. This thing, it's all proper. You know, you've got a proper screen with information as you would in a Model Y or any of those kind of cars. And you've just got an excellent handling package and just a wonderful sound. It really does sound good. I predict this will be a Lotus's biggest selling car, but probably the only one. But I mean, in terms of production, I think. But they make a lot of these. I think this is going to be a hit. Because as I said, it's half the price of its NSX, and it's got the Lotus name, and you've got the Toyota reliability, and it's a good-looking car. No, as I said, nothing on it doesn't belong. It's a relaxing car to drive swiftly. We used the Evora on the show once. I was chasing Ben Collins. Now, Ben was the original Stig on Top Gear. And he was driving the Evora, and I was chasing him in a helicopter, you know, trying to fire missiles or something at him, you know, stupid thing like that. But it was just hilarious to watch that Evora just handle those roads. Here, take a look. Love this car! Oh, Jesus Christ!
Starting to get the feeling that Jay doesn't like me very much.
I've got you, Collins.
Sadly, I died in that episode. You know, I really enjoy this. Lotus has that X factor, that quality. It's hard to put into words. You really have to drive it, because on paper, I don't know if it's that impressive. You know, 400 horsepower, that's not much these days. But the fact that you can use all of it all the time is really, really fascinating. It just has a feel. Plus, with Lotus, you don't see yourself coming and going. And there is a cachet to that name. I think it's right up there with Ferrari and McLaren and all the others. It's certainly, there's history and heritage behind it. So if you get a chance to go for a ride in one of these or drive one, take it. I think you'll be impressed. All right, we'll see you guys next week. I hope you enjoyed this trip and this rather unusual limited edition English sports car. Get one now, because they're going fast. Oh, and they go fast.